Northern and north-central Vietnam are experiencing very large and prolonged rains, causing severe flooding in many provinces and cities. River water levels in many places have exceeded the highest warning thresholds, leading to deep inundation of residential areas, traffic disruption, and the isolation of some regions. Mountainous areas also face the risk of flash floods and landslides, while in urban areas, overloaded drainage systems worsen the inundation. The cause has been identified as a combination of multiple adverse weather phenomena. The impacts of storms and tropical depressions, combined with cold air and moist wind convergence, have generated unusually heavy rainfall in a short period. The hilly and mountainous terrain conditions and asynchronous urban development have also contributed to increasing the level of damage in this flood event. The flooding situation has caused significant losses in life and property. Houses are deeply submerged, roads are cut off, crops and livestock have been swept away, and many households have had to evacuate urgently. Some fatalities and missing cases have been recorded, while rescue and relief efforts face many difficulties in isolated areas. The government and functional forces are actively implementing emergency response measures to ensure the safety of the people. Disaster warning systems have been activated, and plans for evacuation, food support, and infrastructure restoration are underway. However, given the increasing trend of extreme weather, upgrading irrigation and drainage systems, as well as urban planning, are urgent requirements to mitigate risks in the future. The recent flood and heavy rain event did not just occur in one or two provinces, but spread across many provinces and cities in the north and north-central regions, creating a regional-scale natural disaster phenomenon, not merely a local incident. A clear point is that areas like Tiny Nguyen, Bac Ninh, Lang Son, Cao Bang in the north, and provinces like Thanh Hoa, Hoi An in the north-central region have recorded rainfall and river levels exceeding historical thresholds. This means the vulnerability is not just related to a single river system or a purely local area, but to a large interconnected chain of river systems, multiple connected basins, and many provinces affecting each other. The widespread scale creates different challenges compared to single-point disaster incidents. When multiple provinces are affected simultaneously, rescue forces, emergency support, and response resources must be allocated more broadly. Traffic isolation in one province can easily spread to neighboring ones, triggering a chain reaction such as power outages, loss of communication, and stagnation of production and commerce. For example, in Tiny Nguyen, houses were submerged and traffic paralyzed. In Bac Ninh, tens of thousands of households were flooded, and irrigation and dike systems failed. In Thanh Hoa, large areas of crops and residential homes were severely affected. In the international and media context, the fact that many provinces are affected makes the news more compelling. When a disaster is small-scale, it rarely spreads beyond the locality, but when the phenomenon expands beyond a narrow area, like plains, riverbanks, mountainous regions, attention from both domestic and international audiences increases. Images of broken dikes, vast flooded areas, and major cities responding have appeared frequently on news bulletins and social media. This also reflects that the disaster is no longer just a local problem, but has the potential for inter-province impact, and therefore warning and risk governance systems must also be established at the regional and national levels. From the community's perspective, when many provinces are affected together, people not only face direct consequences like flooded homes, power loss, and traffic disruptions, but also indirect impacts. Supply chains are interrupted, students may have to miss school, small businesses must cease operations, and travel between provinces is restricted. Furthermore, if the affected area includes both urban and rural areas like Hanoi, its suburbs, and neighboring provinces, the impact spreads even wider. Because the urban economy is often tightly linked with its surrounding areas, however, the increasing scope of impact also brings some opportunities for response and recovery. When many provinces are affected together, the government and relief organizations can mobilize larger resources, identify a common affected zone for better coordination, share experiences between provinces, and upgrade infrastructure on a broader regional scale. Conversely, if only one small province is affected, the response might be faster, but its small scale means it has a lower priority. In the current case, the multi-province spread forces a review of inter-province coordination levels and prior preparation for areas with multiple river basins, low-lying areas, and riverside regions. For the purpose of making an informational video, you can emphasize that inter-province area. Scenes of multiple provinces flooded, maps of river basins showing the spread of impact, and comparative images of safe places versus affected places. You should also use a neutral narrative tone, leading viewers to see that the problem is not just in one place, but a large-scale disaster system requiring a regional and national level response. This makes the message clearer. People in any province in the north and north-central regions need to be vigilant because this disaster does not distinguish provinces. It spreads. At two famous tourist destinations, Hue and Hoi An, the recent heavy rain and flooding caused significant impacts on both local residents and visitors. In Hue, rainfall within 24 hours reached approximately 1,085 millimeters, the highest ever recorded in Vietnam, causing the Hue River to rise to about 4.62 meters and leaving many areas deeply submerged. In Hoi An, the water level in the Hue River rose sharply due to prolonged rain and the discharge from hydroelectric reservoirs, causing some areas to be flooded up to the rooftops and forcing about 40,000 tourists to evacuate. This situation leads to several noteworthy issues. Many streets in Hue were turned into canals, and residents had to travel by boats or small sampans. Restaurants, hotels, and services in Hoi An had to temporarily suspend or alter operations due to inundation. The regional transportation system was disrupted, and main routes were isolated, affecting directly tourism, commerce, and daily life. The causes of the flooding in these two cities can be analyzed from multiple dimensions. First is the record-breaking extreme rainfall, which placed immense pressure on the drainage and flood discharge systems. Second is the topography and urban structure. The ancient towns, like in Hoi An, are inherently located in low-lying areas near rivers and the coast, making them more susceptible to flooding. Third is the combination of heavy natural rainfall and the regulation of hydroelectric reservoirs or basins, which can cause water levels to rise rapidly in downstream areas. In terms of solutions and responses, local authorities deployed evacuations for residents and tourists, used boats to assist movement in deeply flooded areas, and accommodation services relocated guests to safer places. However, the situation in Hue and Hoi An reveals the vulnerability of heritage sites, tourism, and urban infrastructure to natural disasters. This highlights the need for upgrading drainage systems, dikes, and planning for low-lying urban areas, as well as early warning systems and emergency coordination among multiple sectors: transport, tourism, and public livelihood. When making a YouTube video on this topic, you could focus on these scenes: panoramic views of Hoi An's ancient town underwater, residents and tourists evacuating, and scenes of paralyzed traffic in Hue. You could narrate a day under the flood in these two locations, from heavy rain in the morning to noon, flooding in the afternoon, residents rowing boats in the evening, hotels moving guests, and the government's response. Additionally, look at the heritage tourism disaster aspect to emphasize a UNESCO-recognized site like Hoi An being directly impacted by a natural disaster, highlighting the challenge of protecting heritage in the context of climate change.